A listener note, this story contains adult content and language. If you're listening to this podcast, you might want to go back and start at episode 1. This is a story being told in chronological order. Therefore, if you come in at episode 2, you might miss some details or context that are pretty important to the story. From Exclave Media, this is The Sicario Effect.
Se busca a Pablo Escobar. Recompensa 2.700.
Con John Jairo Velázquez Vázquez. ¿Usted por qué se entrega de nuevo a la justicia?
Porque no le debo nada a la justicia.
A Colombian hired killer known as Popeye has been released from prison.
Hola guerreras y guerreros, yo soy su amigo John Jairo Velázquez Vázquez, conocido como Popeye.
Alias Popeye, mi señora.
Yo soy John Jairo Velázquez Vázquez Popeye, la hermana.
Episode 9, The Last Straw. While Franklin Quintero's death was an epic blow to Colombian law enforcement as well as the country, it was mostly overshadowed by an event that took place the same day, just several hours later.
El 18 de agosto de 1989,
on August 18th, 1989, we killed the police colonel Franklin Quintero at 6:40 in the morning, and on the same day, at 7:25 at night, in Soacha, Cundinamarca, we killed Luis Carlos Galan Sarmiento.
But you didn't personally kill him. Luis Carlos Galan.
No. Galan no lo mataste tú, no.
No, yo le hice un atentado acá en Medellín.
There was an attempt of assassination against Luis Carlos Galan here in Medellin, but he was unharmed. Then he went back to Bogotá, where we organized his assassination. For example, I pulled the gun, and everything was organized by Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, a.k.a. El Mexicano, who was an important player in the Medellin Cartel.
7:45 p.m. A 3-car motorcade with 10 motorcycles leading and flanking the procession speeds along the Autopista Sur Highway. Their destination is the Colombian city of Soacha. A relatively small city, Soacha is considered to be a borough of Bogotá, kind of like Staten Island or Queens are to New York City. But officially, it's a municipality of the department of Cundinamarca. It's a working-class town with a population of around 500,000. Riding inside the middle car is the hope for Colombia, Luis Carlos Galan, the John F. Kennedy of Colombia. Galan graduated from Javeriana University in 1965 with a doctorate in law and economics. After college, he worked as a reporter for the national newspaper El Tiempo. He began to distinguish himself as a journalist, writing articles about the numerous problems facing Colombia. He wrote considerably about the shortcomings in Colombia's schools. As a reporter, he interviewed the president, Misael Pastrana, the father of Andres Pastrana. During the interview, Galan displayed a deep understanding of the crisis facing the education system in Colombia. Pastrana was so impressed with Galan, shortly afterwards, he appointed Galan to be his Minister of Education, marking his entrance into national politics. In 1972, he was appointed ambassador to Italy. 4 years later, he returned to Colombia and went back to journalism. He published more than 300 articles. Many of his articles addressed the disturbing rise of narcotrafficking and the dangerous consequences it would have on all aspects of Colombian life. He wrote extensively about the threat of narco money influencing the political system. In 1979, Galan re-entered politics and was successfully elected as the senator for his native state of Santander. A member of the Liberal Party, Galan grew frustrated at the party's inability to find consensus on a myriad of issues. He felt the party needed to be reformed and invigorated. He wasn't alone. Another young politician, Rodrigo Lara Bonilla, shared his sentiments. Together, they took a hard look at the challenges Colombia faced and decided that the Liberal Party in its current form wouldn't be effective enough and decided to form a new party. On November 30th, 1979, Luis Carlos Galan and Rodrigo Lara and 2 other colleagues announced the formation of the Nuevo Liberalismo Party, the New Liberal Party, a faction of the Liberal Party. By 1982, Galan ran for president and won 745,000 votes. He was defeated by the conservative candidate Belisario Betancourt. Despite being defeated in the presidential race, it was an undeniable show of strength for the New Liberal Party in Colombian politics. The message was clear. These guys were to be taken seriously. The party was gaining support across the nation. Galan was re-elected as a senator. New Liberal Party co-founder Rodrigo Lara was appointed Minister of Justice. Numerous other Liberal Party candidates were winning seats throughout Colombia. Of all the Liberal Party candidates that were elected, one in particular stood out.
En Antioquia todos conocen las inversiones en el campo de la industria, en el campo de la ganadería y en el campo de la
construcción. The candidate from Antioquia. Running as a member of the newly formed Liberal Alternative Party, Pablo Escobar was elected as an alternate member of Congress. Escobar had originally wanted to be part of the new Liberal Party. However, after investigating the source of Pablo's money, Luis Carlos Galan and Rodrigo Lara took the position that the new Liberal Party would have nothing to do with the man from Medellin, thus beginning Pablo Escobar's antagonism towards two of Colombia's rising political stars. A few months later, on April 30th, 1984, Rodrigo Lara was assassinated by Pablo Escobar's sicarios. By the middle of the 80s, the deep divisions within the Liberal Party were taking its toll. As a result, Galan turned down the opportunity to run in the 1986 presidential election. Instead, he decided to take a break from politics and accepted a position teaching at Oxford University. While Galan was enjoying teaching and traveling throughout Europe, a group of ruthless men were making big advances in constructing a narco syndicate that was slowly infiltrating all aspects of Colombia. By 1988, the violence in Colombia was beginning to rise. Narco-traffickers had amassed a great deal of power and influence. Disturbed from the escalating violence and the increasing grip of narco-traffickers, Luis Carlos Galan didn't want to sit on the sidelines. He returned to Colombia in 1988 and appeared at the Liberal Party convention in Cartagena.
Es la de aprender a manejar el Estado, la de racionalizar ese Estado que se formó en Colombia y se desarrolló.
Over the next several months, he garnered support within the party. On July 6th, 1989, the new Liberal Party announced Luis Carlos Galan as their candidate for president, along with his running mate Cesar Gaviria. One of Galan's key platforms endorsed a treaty with the United States for the extradition of narco kingpins and their accomplices.
Cambiando la conciencia del pueblo colombiano como lo necesita y lo requiere.
From the moment he announced his candidacy for president, he picked up a groundswell of support. His popularity surged. Colombians began to pin onto Galan their hope for change, real change. To put this in context that's closer to home, one can imagine the same energy and excitement America felt during Robert F. Kennedy's campaign for president. By August 1st, all of Galan's public rallies had ballooned in size. His speeches electrified the crowds. Young people were invigorated by his call to action. It was a real moment in Colombian politics. It also made him the most threatened man in the country. Keenly aware of the increasing threats on his life, Galan asked General Miguel Maza Marquez, director of the DAS, that's Colombia's version of the FBI, to review his security detail and protocols as a precaution. It was a prudent request for a candidate who loved to engage with crowds. At the end of July, the DAS changed Galan's head of security. Veteran agent Victor Julio Cruz, Galan's chief security agent during the presidential campaigns of 1982 and 86, was unexpectedly reassigned to the security detail of another politician. Agent Jacobo Torregosa was appointed head of Galan's security detail. The move surprised both Galan and Cruz. An air of confusion and suspicion took root amongst the security team responsible for Galan's safety. On August 4th, 1989, Galan was scheduled to speak at the University of Antioquia. Accompanied by some members of his campaign staff, the presidential candidate had come to Medellin despite receiving a number of anonymous death threats. Colonel Franklin Quintero was well aware of these threats and extremely concerned about Galan's safety. He insisted on investigating anything, big or small, having to do with Galan's route. The colonel instructed all radio or dispatch calls to be channeled to his command post. Later that morning, an elderly woman called complaining about some suspicious-looking men hanging out by a truck. It was close to the university. Quintero dispatched his men. A few minutes later, his radio squawked, "Mi coronel, there's a rocket launcher in the truck." While his men secured the area, the colonel was immediately brought to Galan's location in Medellin, where he insisted on personally escorting the candidate to Olaya Herrera Airport, where he would be flown immediately out of Medellin. Talking on the way to the airport, they both agreed that the country cannot afford to give in to the demands of narco-terrorists. 2 days after the failed attack in Medellin, Galan went to Venezuela. He was accompanied by his running mate Cesar Gaviria. Their reception in Venezuela resembled something that would be given to a head of state. When asked by the press about his safety, Galan replied, "Men can be killed, but ideas cannot. And on the contrary, when they kill men, ideas become stronger. I just hope that Colombia is aware of changing before it's too late. We have worked hard to change the system, to create a new space. And if my death manages to achieve that change, then my mission will be fulfilled. 8:05 p.m., August 18th, 1989. The motorcade carrying Luis Carlos Galan makes its way through Soacha. Inside his vehicle, Agent Torregosa hands him a bulletproof vest. Galan normally didn't like to wear it, but didn't argue this evening. He put the vest on. As they entered the neighborhood of La Despensa, Torregosa reminded him of the entrance plans. We will get out of the cars here. You will get onto the back of the truck, which will take you right into the town square. Then we can get you out right by the stage. His security team consisted of 20 bodyguards, all armed. When the motorcade came to a stop, Galan's personal aide looked out the window. It appeared that there were a lot more people from what they were originally told. Another thing his aide noticed. There were no checkpoints leading into the square, and nobody was being searched. Stepping out of his armored vehicle, a rush of security personnel and enthusiastic fans encircle Galan. His bodyguards move him towards a large flatbed truck that appears old and somewhat wobbly. The agents are focused on Galan and don't seem to notice several onlookers, hoping to get a glimpse of the candidate, are now trying to climb onto the truck. Receiving assistance from his bodyguards, Galan is helped up onto the truck. Once all the members of his staff are aboard, the truck slips back and then jolts forward into gear, jarring everyone on board. Slowly, the truck begins to move, leaving the armored cars and motorcycle escorts behind. From above, it resembles a sea of red and white, the colors of Galan's party. A lot of them drinking cheap brandy and aguardiente. The square is packed wall-to-wall people. Large signs, flags, and banners are carried by individuals. The truck stops and is overcome with people. The lack of police is clearly evident as throngs engulf the truck. There are no visible barriers keeping people away. His security jumps down to push people back. As Galan tries to step down, for a moment it appears he's about to be carried off on the shoulders of his supporters. After a few seconds, security helps him get back on the ground. His bodyguards form a ring around him and begin to push their way through the swarm of people towards the stage. He waves as he is pushed along. On the way to the stage, he greets Herman Vargas and Patricio Samper, two friends who came to accompany him. 5 to 10 seconds later, he gets to the stage and quickly moves forward. At the foot of the stage is a large banner. Unlike other banners, this one is upside down, a detail that Galan's security doesn't take notice of. The chanting, Galan, amigo, la pueblo está contigo. Galan, amigo, the town is with you, grow louder by the second. Galan steps forward. He raises both his arms to wave to the crowd. His vest rises up, leaving his abdomen exposed. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, 3 loud submachine gun bursts erupt from the bottom of the stage near the upside-down banner. Galan falls back. One of his bodyguards, Santiago Cuervo, dives directly in front of him and is struck by bullets. Another security agent, Pedro Nel Angulo, rushes to Galan's side and is also hit by gunfire. Standing on the stage just a few feet from Galan, Soacha City Councilman Julio Cesar Penalosa turns to run for cover when he is shot twice and falls to the ground. Shots continue to be heard over screams. Pandemonium breaks out in the square. Over the bursts of gunfire, 4 of Galan's security agents have managed to lift him up by his legs and arms and carry his body off the stage. He remains conscious throughout. With weapons drawn, several other agents look to return fire, but are unable to find the assailants amongst the masses. Moments later, a dark sedan pulls up, and within seconds, Galan's bodyguards begin to move him inside of the car. An agent holds Galan by his shoulders, entering the car backwards to lay him on the back seat of the vehicle. The car speeds off. The bullets enter just below his vest and rip through his belly. The Soacha Hospital is situated roughly 200 meters, right around the corner from the public square. Worried over the possibility of a second wave attack from the assassins, they decide to take Galan to the Cajanal Hospital, located in the CAN, or National Administrative Center of Bogota, 13 miles away. Noticing Galan's deteriorating condition, the agents realize they don't have a lot of time and change course to the Bosa Hospital, a small medical clinic in the nearby town of Bosa. One of the agents looks at Galan and pleads, Hold on, boss. Please don't die." Former Galan head of security, Victor Julio Cruz, is on his day off at home in nearby San Mateo when he receives a call from a DOS colleague who informs him of what just happened. Cruz immediately leaves his house and heads out to Bosa Hospital. 8:55 p.m. The car arrives at Bosa Hospital. Galan is diagnosed with multiple internal injuries from gunshot wounds and severe blood loss. Agent Cruz, now at the hospital, stands with the other bodyguards talking to the doctor in charge, who informs them because of Galan's internal bleeding, he requires specialized surgery, but unfortunately, the hospital doesn't have the equipment to treat him. Cruz makes the decision to transfer him to the Kennedy Hospital, roughly 3 miles away. Over the radio, lead agent Torregosa informs the other members of the security detail he's gone to get a secure ambulance. Frustrated and not wanting to waste precious time, Agent Cruz orders the men to use whatever ambulance is available. 9:25 p.m. Galan arrives at Kennedy Hospital. At Kennedy, he is taken directly into surgery with a team of specialists. Because of his dire condition, once inside the OR, the doctors take extraordinary measures and cut his chest open. The surgeon administers a direct cardiac massage in an effort to keep him alive. Simultaneously, a trauma surgeon treats his abdominal wounds. A loud, single flatline EKG tone is heard throughout the OR. After several more minutes of attempting to resuscitate him, they get no response. Finally, the surgeon calls it. Time of death, 10:12 p.m. Luis Carlos Galan Sarmiento, presidential candidate, the leader of the New Liberal Party, the man who was believed to change politics in Colombia, the country's great hope for a better future, was dead. He was 46 years old. Colombia was paralyzed. Its future had been struck by a wrecking ball. The police arrested 13 suspects. Galan's murder was ordered and carried out by the Medellin Cartel. Masterminded by Pablo Escobar, Medellin Cartel boss Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha, a.k.a. El Mexicano, personally oversaw and coordinated the operation. Pablo Escobar's chief sicario, John Jairo Velázquez Vázquez, alias Popeye, was in charge of procuring the machine guns that would be used by the assassins. Over the next several years, a government panel investigating Galan's assassination would expose a vast conspiracy. Popeye's testimony in the case shed light on several co-conspirators and led to the indictment of several government officials. Luis Carlos Galan posed an imminent threat to the narco-traffickers, the paramilitary groups, and a handful of corrupt government officials, who all conspired together to snuff out the hope of a nation. For his role in the killing of presidential candidate Luis Carlos Galan, Popeye pled guilty to murder, and along with the other charges of terrorism, narco-trafficking, and kidnapping, he received a sentence of 40 years, the maximum under Colombian law. However, his sentence was reduced to 30 years as part of a deal made with the prosecutor in exchange for his testimony in the case.
Para no ser una nación marginal, secundaria, para que no le vuelva a dar vergüenza a ningún colombiano al presentar el pasaporte de su...
Dile por favor a Jonathan que él nunca en la vida volverá a escuchar una organización tan poderosa como el Cartel de Medellín.
You will never hear of another organization so powerful as the Medellin Cartel.
I'm still fascinated by how... Were you ever scared? Even in the very first time you had to kill somebody, were you scared?
No, porque yo ya era un hombre de Pablo Escobar.
No, he was a Pablo Escobar man, and he had the stomach for it. And from the very first time that he killed, he was not scared, and he knew that as a professional hitman, he had to shoot someone in the head 2 times.
Have you ever been scared?
No, la primera vez que tuve miedo en la vida fue cuando mataron a Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria.
So, no. The only time he felt scared was when Pablo Escobar was taken down, because at the time he was in jail and he listened to everyone in jail starting yelling, Pablo Escobar is going down.
Yo me meto a mi calabozo, me doy una palmada en la cara y digo no.
He went to his cell, he slapped himself, because he was that scared, he was panicking, and he said, no, I can't lose control of myself. I'm a Pablo Escobar man, I have to take control of the situation.
Sure. I mean, what a power this person had over you and others as well. It's frankly, it's remarkable, because I mean, I guess
as they say, it was a god for them.
Yeah, he was a god. It was like a cult. He was like a deity. And I suppose that would take away the fear, I guess, of any, if you had it. And at that point, it's just doing your job, completing a mission. And I'm curious, because I also heard you say something in an interview where you talked about killing people. And an assassin is different than a psychopath. Whereas a psychopath wants to kill people. An assassin, it's just a job. I have to go, I have to kill these people. And like a construction worker, a guy who, a carpenter, he has to, but when he's not doing it, he's not thinking about wanting to do carpentry. He's just, that's his job and he does it. It's an interesting mindset. I'm curious did you always have this mindset?
A mí nunca me han encontrado trazas de psicopatía en mi personalidad. Cuando nosotros he estado tanto en el cartel de Medellín, no hubo un momento de descanso.
They have never found any traces of psychopathy in his personality, in Popeye's personality, but
no había tiempo de nada. Inclusive nosotros nos divertíamos con el mismo patrón. A veces había orgías y el patrón se desnudaba y nos desnudamos nosotros.
Regarding your question, he says back then, for them there was no rest. They were either escaping or killing. So there was no time to stop and thinking about something else.
No, they were escaping?
Yes, like when they were running away from the police, for
But
example.
even before then, when they weren't running?
Like
Before they were in jail, in La Catedral, before they were on the run.
John Jairo, escapando, cuando te refieres a que estaban escapando, escapando, ¿desde el principio tenían que estar escapando de la policía o en qué momento?
Cuando yo entré en el 85 a trabajar con Pablo Escobar, ya estaba la persecución.
Okay.
When
he
he
started.
Exactly, in 1995, they were already being
Dile por
chased by the
favor
police.
a Jonathan que un asesino profesional es de la siguiente forma.
So he's going to describe what an assassin is like.
Un asesino profesional te saluda, muy buenos días. No se mete con nadie en el vecindario.
An assassin, a professional assassin, the way he describes him is a very polite person, will say good morning to everyone, a very respectful person, a very good neighbor, actually.
Si tú le chocas el auto, él pide perdón y te paga a ti. Se retira tranquilamente. Nunca grita.
If, for example, he will be involved in a car accident with you, he will pay for the damages, he will excuse himself for whatever happened. There will be no yelling, no showing off of the guns, for example, or weapons, no reckless driving, for instance.
Respectful.
Very respectful of norms. The only thing that they will do against rules would be killing.
One moment. Un asesino profesional no hace fiestas ruidosas en su casa.
No loud parties at home, for example, for an assassin. I mean, there wouldn't be any prostitutes coming in and out of their homes. No fancy cars. They will just leave in the morning like everybody else to do their job, and they will come back at night to rest.
It's just a job.
It's just a job, exactly.
Jonathan debe estar pensando que el vecino es un asesino.
You must be thinking that your neighbor is a hitman.
Yeah. It's possible. He's very quiet. He's respectful. Yeah.
Porque es una persona muy calmada.
Sí, puede ser un gran asesino. Sí.
So now let me go to where...
Volvió el Camaro. Está loco.
Sí. So now we go back to where you're in prison with Pablo in La Catedral. It's time to run. It's time to leave prison. Did you ever, in your mind, I understand your loyalty, I am not questioning, but did you ever question the strategy? Did you ever think that maybe the boss was wrong?
Mira, nunca, cero. Era mi Dios. Pero mira, yo tenía cierta confianza con el patrón.
When Pablo Escobar decided that Galeano and Kiko have to be killed inside prison, John Jairo, who was very close to Pablo Escobar, he actually questions that. He says, why don't we kill them outside prison? But Pablo Escobar sits with him and tells him, like, part of the educational process, like, he makes him see the mistake with that, which is...
Y me dijo, la gente de confianza mía está aquí dentro de la cárcel de la Catedral. Los de afuera no son de tanta confianza.
having these people, let's say, being kidnapped outside of prison will mean that their families will pay the ransom, $100 million, and they will leave to the state, and they will have a bigger problem than they already had. Because, for example, they needed these guys to get back some property and even artwork that they have that actually belongs to Pablo Escobar. So, according to Pablo Escobar and what Pablo explained to John Jairo, it would have been a mistake having them killed outside prison. It had to be inside because the people they trust was inside prison, not outside.
And they couldn't kill him outside?
No. Y mira, aquí dice que Pablo Escobar valía 2.700 millones de pesos y nosotros nunca pensamos en eso.
I mean, no matter how much money the reward was for Pablo Escobar's head, none of them will think of handing them to the police, to the government. He was just, I mean, that's the level of loyalty they had. It could be all that amount of money in Colombian pesos.
Yeah.
They would, I mean, there was no question about even thinking about it.
Wow. Did you ever want to become a narcotraficante yourself?
Mira, tengo muchísima suerte para el combate, para el fusil.
No, he was very good at what he did, which was shooting a gun. He was very, very good at that. But he had no luck for the trafficking business itself. He tried it. He tried it once, but he failed.
You tried it once? Really?
Intentaste.
How did it fail?
Envié una
He
cocaína a
sent a shipment to Holland, but there was a problem with the whole coordination and everything failed.
Si hubiera sido un asesinato, yo no hubiera dejado nada por fuera.
Had it been a killing, it would have been a different story. He would have controlled everything.
Really? Wow. And did you lose money?
¿Perdiste dinero en ese momento?
Sí.
Now, when you tried this, were you working for Pablo Escobar?
Ya estaba muerto Pablo Escobar.
Pablo was already dead.
Ah.
Lo hice desde la prisión, sí.
From
prison. He entered from prison, exactly.
Wow. Okay, just from, I don't know enough about Colombian prisons, but from prison you were doing a deal with Holland? How does something like that even happen?
Sí, mira, porque antes las prisiones las manejábamos los presos.
Before, it was basically inmates who run everything. They had control over prison. They had phones with them, for example.
Right.
So it was very easy to do something like this. When the American government intervened to change the situation, to bring the American Bureau of something like the American Bureau of Prisons, the whole situation changed. But actually, he points out that it was a good change. It was discipline, but it's because of that he is alive today. So he's saying that he owes his life to the American government.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Seriously, it helps. I hate bothering everybody for this, but I gotta do it. Please visit our website for a full list of credits and some cool bonus materials, like photos, videos, and declassified documents at thesicarioeffect.com. If you're not sure how to spell it, it's the name of the podcast. Or you can follow us on Instagram at The Sicario Effect, or on Twitter at Sicario Effect. There is no the in the handle. And on Facebook at Exclave Media. I'm Jonathan Branstein, your host and writer. The show is produced by me, Caitlin Tyrrell, Ernie Hurtado, and Matt Olson. Our editor is William Broughton. Our engineer, sound design, and mix, Ernie Hurtado. Co-producer, Esteban Orozco. Music composed by Preston Nowakowski. Artwork, Juan Felipe Orozco. Additional music is composed by William Broughton. Interview translator, Alejandro Caseño. Additional translation, Juliet Restrepo, Christina Madrid. Production support was provided by Daniel Uria. Special thanks to Laura Kate Jones, Mauricio Builes, Alejandro Brugas, Alejandro Doring, Alexandra Doring, Tim Fufus, Tom Freston, Ross Bernard, Kelvin Wells II, Saad Moseni, Yoshi Obayashi, Jeff Frankel, Stephen Molina, and the fabulous Los Hermanos Orozco. Additional thanks to the Museo Casa de la Memoria in Medellin, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, the George Bush Presidential Library and Museum, Michael Pinckney, Mary Finch, Iafit Medellin, Luisa Garces. Also, please visit the Narco Tour project at narcotour.co. That's narcotour.co. This podcast is dedicated to the memory of Guillermo Cano, Anthony Bourdain, and Larry Bresner.